We now have in the studio with us Ms. Lacey Reddix, the Infrastructure Master Plan Coordinator for the Department of Public Works. She's here to talk a bit about the latest developments with the Infrastructure Master Plan. Welcome again, Ms. Lacey. We're glad to have you back in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So you know by your activities in the community how important your job is. And I don't think it's a more important job in the city of Jackson than the Infrastructure Master Plan. And so that being said, talk a bit about to the citizens as in the form of an update of where we are in terms of getting roads paved, because I'm sure that's what the viewing audience would like to hear.
Okay, so one, I wanted to give a status update on our year one projects. Our year one projects are moving. We have consultants for all except 3 of our projects, Medgar Evers Boulevard, Mill Street, that are set to be advertised this month. And then Lynn Street, we're waiting on MDOT for activation. But all of those projects have been moving. We're working on solidifying what our year 2 is going to look like. And we're looking at up to almost $80 million possibly on projects that are slated to be going on in our year 2 of our plan. But once the plan for Public Works is starting in March, we want to repave as many streets as we can with the amount of money that we have in our budget. So what we're trying to do is we have a term bid. We've gotten bids back for a term bid to do neighborhood street resurfacing starting in the spring. And then we will also be putting out a major project to do major street resurfacing. These are your Ellis Avenues, Raymond Road, Terry Road, McDowell Road, West Highland Drive, Old Canton Road, Northside Drive. So those are the streets that will be covered under the major street resurfacing project, along with others as well. And that's set to happen in the spring.
Okay, okay, wonderful. And so that sort of brings us to where we are now, which is very helpful. One of the things I'd like for you to, and I'm sure the audience would as well, is kind of explain how the appropriation of this 1% sales tax work. In other words, I've heard often, as I'm sure you have too, that people believe that the $90 million that will actually accrue over some years is actually $90 million a year. So I just want to go ahead and get you to dispel that and try to break that down. So, and that's just an informational, educational piece that people just need to be aware of. So
again, we are set to get about $13 to $15 million a year with this 1% sales tax. So getting $90 million in 1 year using the sales tax is not a true test. So we're not going to be able to do $90 million unless we leverage those funds. And so we are looking at possibly leveraging funds, but we need to look at what the consequences are, how much money we will have to pay back in loans. There's other things that we need to consider when we think about how many projects we can do within a given year.
Right, but the average expenditure for infrastructure repairs with the 1% sales tax annually is roughly $13 to $14 million. Is that right?
That's how much we receive, yes.
Okay, great. And I just wanted to make sure that was clear, because again, there's some confusion about that, because when people just throw these figures out like $90 million, people think they're accessible immediately, and it takes time to accumulate that with the sales tax annually. So I did want to say that. So thank you for that piece. The other piece is, you know, the other question that we get asked often is, and I think you touched upon it, but I want you to expound upon it, when they can actually see streets getting paved.
So this goes back to when you can actually do construction or street repaving during a given year. You usually don't see any street repaving during the winter months. That's because with asphalt and concrete, you usually don't want to repave streets when it's less than 40 degrees, and you also don't want to repave when it's raining outside. So the optimum time to repave is either the spring or the summertime, which is what we're shooting for right now. So what we've been trying to do is just plan accordingly and get ready for this upcoming spring to repave as many streets as possible.
Awesome. So springtime, streets paved. And explain this part as for us, if you will. There's a difference between street resurfacing and street repair. So talk a bit about, is it going to be a balance between the two, or how will that look?
So again, I think I spoke about the fact that we have a term bid coming in, and that's for mill and overlay. So this is just for repaving streets. And milling is just taking the top layer of asphalt off the street and then repaving with another new layer of asphalt. With repair, you talk about reconstructing a road, so that's base repair. So underneath the street you have your sub base, which might be crushed stone, might be clay, it might be a number of different things, and that costs substantially more money to replace as opposed to just repaving a street. So I think the numbers that we're using now, it's about $150,000 per lane mile for resurfacing a street, and then it's about $1 million per mile for reconstructing a road.
So that reconstruction will eat that $90 million up pretty quick. So that's important too for the citizens to know. And again, in terms of informing the public as to how this process works, how will they know exactly what streets will be paved within the city of Jackson?
So we have an Operation Orange Cone website. So if you go onto our city website, you'll be able to see all of that information online. You should go under Operation Orange Cone. Those streets will be available every day that a new street is going to be added to the list to be repaved for that day.
And I understand the mayor will be having some listening tours through over the next course of a few months or whatnot, and that information will be shared there as well as community meetings. Is that right?
Yes. So we've been doing a lot of community outreach through the COPS meetings. So each precinct meets, I think, once a month. And we've been going to a few of those meetings to kind of notify people of what we're going to be doing in these next coming months.
Well, good. I know that's a very important piece in the scope of this matrix of repairing streets and the infrastructure master plan. And like I say, a lot of good information. I think I said this the last time you were a guest in our studio. Of course, we'll be happy to have you back again and continue to give us these helpful updates. So. Let me take this opportunity to thank you again for the work that you do with the City of Jackson and being here today to explain to the citizens of Jackson how we're moving forward with this infrastructure master plan.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much for being here.